Good evening, parents, guardians, and the grade 9 students of 2021. Welcome to our annual subject choice evening. We would have liked it to be in a different format, but unfortunately, the circumstances have not allowed for that. As you move through the education system, there are certain critical moments that you face. Going to school for the first time, going to high school, your matric valedictory, your matric final exams are such moments. But there's little doubt that the subject choice that you make in grade 9, at the end of grade 9, is one of those moments. Our aim at Weinberg is to make sure that we provide you with the best possible chance of future success. If you choose a wrong subject combination or a subject combination that doesn't suit your aptitude and your ability, you face the possibility of not having a very pleasant final 3 years of school. If you, on the other hand, if you choose the correct subjects and the subjects that are suitable to you, then the chances of you having a successful and a stress-free, tension-free high school career from grade 10 through to grade 12 is a distinct possibility. And it also sets you up for when you leave school, that you have the right combination of subjects and therefore that you've achieved your potential. And that is what we are aiming for. This year we introduced a new initiative to assist with this process, and that was the aptitude tests that all the grade 9s completed last week. This is intended to help you, the parents and the boys, to choose the correct subjects and the subjects for which their abilities and for which they are best suited. Mrs. Wallace is going to talk later about those tests and how to use them. I don't want to encroach too much on what the later speakers are going to say, but I would just like to give you some advice. Don't go into this process with preconceived ideas. Seek the advice and counsel of people who know your son well. Listen to the advice received. I hope you find this evening very informative, and remember, we are always here to help if you need any further assistance, and I wish you all the best of luck in making the correct choice. Thank you very much.
Good evening, everyone. The reason for this evening's event is to help you understand the new phase in your son's education. He's currently in the GET band, which is the General Education and Training band, but is on the verge of entering the FET band, or the Further Education and Training band. I taught in the UK between 2003 and 2007, and at the time I was blown away by how far behind our curriculum was compared to the UK. However, with the introduction of the CAPS in 2012, things have been taken up a number of notches. Added to that most schools like ours extend their boys beyond the curriculum in grade 10 and 11, then I'll feel that this curriculum is really fit for purpose in terms of preparing them for tertiary education. We start this process of teaching beyond the curriculum in the GET phase, grade 8 to 9, as we feel that the CAPS in that phase is not necessarily preparing the boys as well as we think they should be prepared. So you may be wondering, where exactly does the GET and FET band fit in? Your son is currently finishing off his senior phase, which began in grade 7, and that was about the time that he started to have an increased workload and also tell you that he knew everything. This will continue through to the end of the FET phase. The senior phase ends upon completion of grade 9, and entry into the big bad world of the FET band requires that he chooses 3 elective subjects. That is the purpose of this evening, to let you know more about that. These choices are outlined in the subject choice booklet, which we'll hear more about later. So, in terms of making your choice, due to the way in which the various subjects are taught in grade 9, you and your son should by now have a very good sense of where his aptitude lies. For example, natural sciences, physics, should indicate his aptitudes for science. EMS should provide you with a gauge of his readiness or not for economics or accounting. The same goes for technology and how he's doing in that and how that should prepare him for EGD. Ultimately, and more important than choosing subjects that he enjoys, your son must ensure he obtains a Bachelors Pass. A Bachelors Pass gives him entry into university. This means obtaining at least 50% in 4 subjects plus 50% in English. Now, this bar is set pretty low, but should be non-negotiable in your household discussions around academics. Without the Bachelor's Pass, university is not an option at all. And while university may not even be the first choice of tertiary education for some households, it still needs to always be an option. The reality, though, is that the best university of your choice and the best degree of your choice will most likely require a much higher level of attainment than a Bachelor's Pass. Most courses at UCT require 460 points to gain entry. This means averaging at least 77% for every subject, excluding life orientation, which is not included in the calculation. So to achieve these results at that level means that your son cannot afford to choose even one subject that he knows he will struggle in. And he will know which subjects those are based on his performance in the GET band. Getting 50 or 60% for an elective that he has chosen in an ill-advised way will mean that he has to find 20 or 30% from somewhere else. This puts tremendous stress on a young man and the whole family and could ultimately prove catastrophic for his matric year. In terms of actually making your subject choice, you'll hear more about this now from Ms. Wallace, but you will be making your selection on the Moodle platform, and this is also where you will find the subject choice booklet. I hope you are a little bit more informed as to the choices you need to make, but if you need to contact me, please do so at any time by finding my details on the Weinberg Boys High School website.
Good evening, parents. I'm Courtney Wallace, the grade 9 head for this year, and I will be speaking on some advice on how to actually go forward with this subject choice. Now, this may seem like a cliche thing to say, but you really need to start asking your children where they see themselves in 10 years' time. That's where it begins. It begins with a vision, with an idea of what they want for their lives, what you want for their lives, and how, by choosing the right subjects, they can get there. The reality is, some of you are sitting with sons who know exactly what they want to do after school. Some of you are sitting with sons who are completely overwhelmed and they don't know where to begin. So this is a really good step. But not only do we want them to look at what they want to do after school, we actually want them to look closer to their matric final. What do they want that final report to say? What do they visualize that it says? And in your discussions at home, this is where you should begin. What does matric look like for your son? Which classes do they see themselves sitting in? Will these subjects help them get to their overall goal of whichever career they want to choose? And I know this can be quite a daunting decision, but hopefully with looking into the future just a little bit, it makes it a little bit easier for them and for you to guide them through it. At the end of the day, subject choice has 2 aims. The first one is that it is essentially the first step in that career they will do one day, which seems crazy that at 14, 15 years old, we're asking them to determine their whole lives. While subject choice is not the be-all and end-all to career choice, it is the first step. And obviously, we want to ensure that the step is a stress-free and easy one, so that when that decision comes in grade 11 and grade 12, it is far easier for these boys to make the right call. Secondly, the aim is to ensure that your son will be able to achieve the results he needs in that subject for that career. But together with achievement is enjoyment. The trend shows that if you enjoy a subject, you tend to work harder, which means you should achieve more. So it's not only about what career, it's not only about whether you can achieve, and it's certainly not only about what you enjoy. It's about the balance between the three. And that is where you as parents are so integral in this decision making for your son, to really look at these three elements and to see which subjects can help them the most. The slide that you will currently see will show you just a few of the things that are so important in choosing both a subject, which ultimately will lead to choosing the best career. It doesn't just come down to aptitude and interest, like I said before. It's about which values they want to aspire to. What are their key personality traits? Which sorts of careers, which sorts of subjects will fit who they are as a person, who they are as an individual? What have they gone through in their lives? What does your family look like? And where can he go that might inspire something or might lead to something that has already been started with you? And then unfortunately, we need to look at the more practical elements. In whatever field, what does the job market look like? Is it overpopulated? Is it one that requires immense sacrifice? You need to start looking at those things now. And then obviously, what opportunities are there for tertiary study? And as Mr. Engelbrecht said, it's not about just university. There really are so many other options out there. So what else is important when you help your son to select his subjects? Firstly, you have to consider the opinions of other people. That's how you kind of set yourself an idea of what other people think you might achieve in. So yes, discussions with parents, with siblings, with teachers at school is important in selecting your subject. Then, getting information on what the subject actually entails. Your sons were very lucky last term to go through an LO day where they explored the different subject opportunities. They spoke to grade 10s, 11s, and 12s in those subjects and asked them, what does the workload look like? What kinds of things do you learn? So they are already one step ahead than maybe some other learners at other schools may be. And then finally, it's the responsibility of your son to actually prepare to do well in those subjects. They can select whatever they like, but it's a commitment to actually achieving in that subject and putting the elements in place that will allow them to achieve. Then obviously there are factors that shouldn't influence their choices. Now I said earlier that they need to discuss with their teachers, but which teachers teach that subject shouldn't deter them from taking that subject. It's not about the teacher at the end of the day if they are willing to put in every single effort to get there. Obviously teachers help, that is our job, but your son needs to want to be there in the first place. Secondly, as much as it would be lovely to just go where our friends go, we can't allow them to simply choose subjects because their friends will be in their class. The reality is there are many different classes in certain groupings, so they may not even be with their friend anyway, so why limit their choice to that? They also shouldn't think about what others think. This is their future after all, and they need to make the choices that help them. It's not about anyone else. And lastly, we're not at Weinberg for nothing. We don't go by the easiest option. We always aim high, and that should be the first and foremost thing on your son's mind. Not to just take the simple option, but to rather challenge himself in a way that he can still achieve, but actually push himself to his ultimate potential. So finally, because this is such a daunting process, where do you actually go to get information? Firstly, I know of so many boys that when I tell them that they should already be looking at tertiary institution websites, that say, but that's for grade 11, that's for grade 12, ma'am, why must I do that? The journey starts now. You need to know what those institutions need in order to choose the subjects that will get you there. it goes without saying, really. Secondly, the internet is at our children's fingertips. There are tons of quizzes there that will tell them their aptitude, tell them if they are eligible or suitable for a certain subject or a certain field. And really, these are sometimes a really good indicator for what they can do going forward. And then finally, and probably the most important, is the idea of structured career and subject choice assessments. Now, we have been incredibly lucky this year that for the first time ever, every grade 9 at this school took part in a subject aptitude test. This was written on the 28th of July, and we expect to get the results as early as tomorrow, if not early next week. These are individualized reports for your son that tells them where they should be going. And while this is not hard and fast, it is a really good indicator as to which areas they may succeed in. I do just want to mention that if, for whatever reason, your son was absent on that day, they know that they may come, they may find me, and I will give them the material in order to complete this, and they will get their report in due course. Secondly, they have gone through ethics lessons with Mr. van Skalkwyk. Essentially, what you are hearing today, they have already heard. They have gone through intensive lessons looking at the options, looking at the consequences and the limitations that might be in place. And they know what is expected of them. So really, as I've said before, they are on a higher privilege spectrum already. They've already made that first step, and now it's just about you guiding them forward. Certain other things just before I pass over to Mr. Moser to expect for the grade 10 year. The grade 10 year is overwhelming. It is an academic jump nonetheless. But there are also other things to look forward to, like our Nyamazela challenge and hopefully a grey weekend that had to be cancelled this year. We would just like you as parents to be aware of these things in advance so that you can make the necessary preparations. Hopefully COVID will not be in the way next year and that our grade 10s will actually be able to enjoy these things. And then finally, I know many of you know this already, but you are welcome to email me at any time requesting assistance for whatever it may be, especially in regards to subject choice for the next term. I really am there to help. And thank you for your time.
Good afternoon. I'm glad Ms. Wallace spoke about challenging our boys, because one of the decisions we had to make about 20 years ago when we moved into the new South Africa and deciding what our offering of subjects was going to be, we had to make a decision regarding the kind of subjects we wanted to offer. And we made a decision that we were going to choose only subjects that at that point were acceptable to the universities as part of a university pass. One of our goals at Wynberg is for every single boy to leave matric with a university pass that enables him to extend his studies into whatever career path he chooses to go. So with that in mind, and knowing that one of our 5 core values at Wynberg is aiming high, I want to go through the combination of subjects that your son can take. And remember, not just to let him choose the easiest thing because he thinks he'll do better at that, but to make a wise decision regarding his subjects. The subjects that we offer are listed there in 2 groups. There are what are known as the core subjects. Those are the subjects that every single child in the country has to take. So everyone has to do a home language. That's the language of instruction, which we at Wynberg have chosen to be English. Everyone has to do a further additional language, what in the old days was called a second language. And there are 11 languages that can be done in South Africa. We have chosen at Wynberg to choose only 2, Afrikaans and isiXhosa. Now, if your child is exempt from doing a South African language, then you may speak either to Mr. Engelbrecht or to our school counselor so that they can complete the necessary documentation to allow your child to do either another subject in place of the second language or another language such as French or so on. But If he does another language, we will not provide tutors for that. Your son will have to get his own independent tutor, which you'll have to pay for. The third option in the country, everybody has to do either mathematics or mathematical literacy, but bearing in mind what I've just said about aiming high, we wanted every single boy in grade 10 to first, as it were, have a crack at mathematics as a full subject, and only at the end of grade 10 would we be in a better position to determine whether your son is just being lazy and not trying, or whether he has a genuine problem with maths. And in grade 11 and 12, we may well offer him mathematical literacy once we've convinced ourselves that he's actually not suitable or capable of doing mathematics. The other subject, which everyone in the country has to do, is not a full subject, it's a half subject in terms of the amount of time that's allocated to it, is life orientation. But those four are subjects that every child in the country has to do. In addition to those four, there are now 3 optional subjects, and the list on the right lists all those that we offer at Weinberg. Accounting, AP Mathematics and AP English. Now AP Maths and AP English aren't offered by the Western Cape Education Department, so we have to register the boys to do it through the Independent Examining Board, and if your child wants to do AP Maths or AP English, he will need to go and speak to the head of English and the head of Maths, who will then make the decision regarding whether we can offer a class for the number of boys that want to take it. But those two, AP Maths and AP English, are not considered to be the 3 of the subjects that he has to do, mandatory, through the Western Cape Education Department. They can only be done as an additional 4th or 5th subject over and above the 3 that he has to choose. The rest of them then list the subjects that we offer, and I'm now going to go through with you the manner in which your son has to choose. We cannot just give the boys a list of 15 subjects and say pick any 3, because trying to do a timetable for that kind of scenario would be almost impossible. So what we've done is we've grouped our subjects into 3 groups, and a boy has to pick 1 subject from each of the 3 groups. The first group of subjects, which we call the 5th option because he has already got 4 mandatory subjects, would be those subjects there: economics, engineering, graphics and design, geography, history, music, or physical sciences. He has to pick one of those. If you go to the next option, it's a slightly larger group of subjects, and you may notice that some of the subjects appear in more than one option. And this means that there's virtually no likelihood of your child not being able to find a combination of 3 subjects that he wants to do. So option 6 would be accounting, economics, engineering, graphics and design, geography, history, life sciences, music, and visual arts. And then the 7th and final option would be construction, economics, electronics, engineering, graphics and design, geography, history, information technology, which is the computer programming subject, life sciences, and music. Just some information about these options. The construction and electronics option can only be done if your son also does physical sciences and engineering, graphics and design, which means he doesn't really have an option in the 3 choices he makes. If he's choosing one of the technical subjects, one of the engineering subjects, he has to do physical sciences and engineering, graphic and design. And then music is not advisable for your son to take music unless he has already been doing music at a fairly high level up to grade 9. That's the grade 9 subject level, not grade 9 of music. And so if your son wants to pick up music as a new subject, he will need to first go and speak to Mr. Haig, head of music, to determine whether it's feasible for him to start music as a new subject. The number of possible combinations, with boys picking 1 subject from each of these 3 options, comes to just over 4,000. So in fact, we could have every boy at the school picking a combination, and every single one could pick a different combination of subjects. I do know, however, that it is possible that your son may want to do 3 subjects, which is not possible to do given our current situation. However, your son would be in the small minority of boys for whom his subject choice doesn't fit what we have available here. If you really are very serious about wanting to do that particular combination, I think you need to come and chat to either myself or Mr. Engelbrecht. I'm not promising that we will change everything for you, but I think we might be able to explain to you why it's not possible for your son to do that. Then a couple of other things regarding the deadlines. This subject choice form and an information booklet, which we've produced to assist you and your son to make the choice, has been placed on our Moodle platform under the grade 9 page. So your son should be able to open up Moodle, go to grade 9, and then look. You can read through the document online. You can print it off if you want to. And then the subject choice is effectively something he will have to do online. He'll have to click on the 3 subjects that he's picked, and that will go down on his record. We are leaving that open until the 30th of September. So it may be that your son makes a decision, picks his 3 subjects, and then after chatting to various people, maybe the head of a subject or something like that, he decides to change a subject. All he has to do is go back to that form and redo his subject choice, and we will choose the latter, the latest one that he picks. If he changes 4 times, we'll pick the latest choice that he's made as being the one that happens. After the 30th of September, if he wants to change, then we'll need a letter or an email from you requesting a change before we get going on our timetable. If there are any queries, if there's anything you or your son wants to ask us, then there are a number of people you can contact. Ms. Wallace has already said she's available for you to email her. Mr. Engelbrecht, Head of Academics, who spoke earlier, and myself, I do the timetable, as well as the school counsellor, Mr. Nkusani, who may be able to help you and give you some guidance, or at least explain to you why things are a certain way. Please don't hesitate to contact us, either through email or trying to phone the school, and we will try and explain to you or help you in some way in terms of making that decision. Thank you very much, and have a pleasant evening.